Hello guys and gals, what's Paul Lives here, and this is going to be part 5 of What If Deku was experimented on. And so, in the last part, we left off with Deku successfully escaping the Eclipse facility. And when he was there, he also killed the one, the only Overhaul. And with doing that, he also saved Eri. And, well, like I said, when he saved Eri, he also picked up a crate which had essentially enough blood for her to drink for about 5 or so days. He also got documents which exactly said what Eri's quirk was. And for any of you, that is Eri's quirks and, well, essentially all of her mutations. And if you guys are wondering what that is, I'm simply gonna recap. So, Eri's quirk are essentially this. She has a vampirism quirk, which, well, it basically ups her strength, speed, dexterity, stamina, and endurance by a whole lot, essentially to superhuman levels. So, about 40% of All Might's power. And now, her second quirk is Shadow Viper. Now, she can summon a Viper, that is, a Shadow Viper which can vary in size. So, if she wants to, she can make it like a regular Viper, so rather small, or she can make it into a thing which is 50 meters long. So, yeah. And also, it also has another quirk. Well, that is the Shadow Viper quirk also has another sort of utility to it. That utility being that wherever she goes, there's always darkness. Although what Overhaul didn't, well, how do you say it, exactly know about the Shadow Viper, it's the fact that Shadow Viper only does that if his wielder, at this point Eri, is, well, either sad or angry. And by the sheer fact that she trusts Deku, because he is the one who saved her right now, she is, well, she's not exactly happy, but she is calm. Although, if that's the entire point, she's calm and she's also not scared. So, the entire, how do you say it, like a kilometer of space where darkness is always where Eri is now completely gone. Although, if Eri ever wants to get into a fight or something like that, the Shadow Viper quirk will activate it, because it is similar to Tokoyami's Dark Shadow, because the more darkness there is around it, the stronger it can get. So yeah. And now, we shall continue on. As Deku is currently carrying Eri in his arms, simply trying to find his way out of the forest, he realizes something. He sees several vans which have the insignia of the company, that being Genetic Arc. And well, after he sees that, he begins trailing them. And eventually they stop at what seems to be an abandoned, well, warehouse. As he enters the warehouse, that being, of course, stealthily, he leaves Eri outside because, yeah, she is pretty strong on her own. And well, as he enters it, he sees several scientists taking some sort of, well, essentially a gigantic computer or a server down to the lower floors of what Deku now knows is essentially another facility. Although it is a lot smaller, it only has about, it only has about 7 floors. So yeah. And now, as Deku is slowly making his way, he sees and two security guards who are currently talking. So he simply, well, starts to stalk them and hear what they're saying. Now, the first security guard says something like this. So, what exactly are we going to do now? The Eclipse facility was completely, well, run over. Most of the subjects, which were like intelligent, were able to escape. Essentially, the zombies were attacking the heroes, but now the heroes also know that that facility is somehow connected to the genetic arc company. So that's also going to be a bit of a problem. With the second security guard simply replying, how exactly is that going to be a problem? Well, it's going to be a problem if we, well, get fired and stop getting money. And yeah, before the second security guard could even say anything, Deku simply jumps out and, well, Deku doesn't exactly show mercy to anyone from this company, and he cuts off both of their heads rather fast, giving them a quick death, which is his own way of mercy killing, or well, just giving out mercy. And now, as Deku goes further into the facility, he sees, well, several holding areas, that being four. Three of them are empty, with one having something inside of it. That something, essentially a humanoid figure, which looked to have some sort of metallic skin. Although, as Deku tried to get closer to it, he noticed something. Its head has a gigantic hole inside of it. So, yeah, it's dead. Or at least Deku thinks that. And now, as Deku keeps going on, he's able to get to the elevator. He sees two, essentially, A-class protection robots guarding it. And yeah, Deku makes quick work of them. And after that, he notices something. That something being a camera. And then the alarm goes off. Several dozen more security guards, along with 4 more robots, security robots, enter to essentially try and kill Deku. Because at this point, Deku has become a tiny bit infamous. He was the one who was able to break out of the Eclipse prison. He was the one who now the essentially facility cannot control because he fried all of the circuits in his exoskeleton. And yeah, and he's also known for the sheer fact that he has essentially about 8 more quirks than anyone else. Because usually subjects, or at least most of them, have 2 to 3 quirks, while Deku has 11 or so, with Shota having 7 and Eri having 8. Although the quirks which Eri has are going to be, well, explored a bit later. And now, as Deku simply swiftly takes care of all the security guards and the robots, he goes down to the next floor. The first floor is essentially a storage unit. A bunch of tanks with unknown liquids, some genetic amplifiers for quirks, even several bullets which are actually meant to, well, destroy quirks. And well, as Deku is simply going over those bullets, he gets shot by one. Although, yeah, it sort of doesn't work because he had his armor on, so yeah, the bullet isn't able to penetrate. And then after that, he simply turns around, sees the security guard, who had essentially balls of steel to even shoot him with a pistol which had a quirk erasing bullet inside of it, and exactly 3 seconds after that, yeah, that security guard is essentially red mush on the ground. And after Deku essentially got rid of every single security guard, scientist, and facility member on the first floor, he went to the second. It was essentially the place where all of them slept, along with some VIP rooms. And well, as he entered one of the VIP rooms, he actually sees something which sort of pisses him off. that something being the face of the one, the only Dr. Hayweather, that being the one who killed his essentially father figure Spike. And Dr. Hayweather, because of his successful work and several missions, was promoted. He is now the head of the second finger, that finger being security and essentially containment and all that. And as Deku sees that, yeah, he gets pissed. He destroys that entire side wall where there was a picture of him. And as he does, he actually, well, accidentally breaks a safe as well. Out of that safe, several suitcases drop, each one of them being marked with a Q and then well, another letter. That being QA, QB, and QS. And now, it doesn't exactly take long for their code. Oh. Alright, sorry about that, guys. So, let's see. I believe that we left off with when Deku accidentally broke open the safe. So, in that safe, there were 3 suitcases. Each one of the suitcases had a letter Q. Essentially, it started with that. And then it had another one of the 3 letters. B, A, and S. Now, Deku didn't exactly know what this meant, but he knew that the A, B, and S were essentially classes, or how strong something was, or dangerous. But, well, let's just say that he sort of tagged them alone. Tagged them. I'm sorry about that, guys. He essentially took them with him. And then, as he went to the 3rd floor, as he was, well, looking around, he found that this entire area was for containment. That being, it had 10 different cells which had, well, different types of subjects. And it also had a bunch of security guards, 100 or so, at least what they could say. Oh, sorry about the guys. And now, as Deku essentially just goes there and sees how many there are, yeah, he simply tells to himself, oh great. And as soon as he does get there, he hears something on the comm. Opening all containment cells. Now, the security guards, who were pissing themselves because Deku was going there, are now shitting themselves because every single cell and the subjects which were in it were now free. And yeah, before Deku can even get out of the elevator, yeah, the doors close on him. And then he hears someone speak to him. He hears this. Hello there, I am Artificial Intelligence number Z552. It is my pleasure to finally meet you, Izuku Midoriya. I was an AI which was created by your mother, and I am currently trying to, well, destroy myself. This entire existence is futile, at least for me. So I was hoping that you would be able to, well, grant me this wish. With Deku simply replying, what do you mean, my mother? And after a long conversation in the elevator ride, Deku arrives at the final, well, floor, that being the 7th one. As he gets there, he sees the server which was being carried by the scientists. And he also sees something else. The same type of thing which injects quirks and essentially genetic DNA into someone. And well, that's when he also hears him again, that being the AI. And that's when the AI simply explains, I am artificial intelligence. although I wasn't always. I was created, but they they essentially mushed open a human brain and then did some things which even I don't know exactly how they work. But it wasn't pretty, and now I'm stuck as, well, in an AI, how they call me at least. And so I was hoping that you would kill me. Although, of course, this isn't in a one-sided deal. I will also help you in any way, well, at least now, that you want me to. And that's when Deku simply asks him, what that essentially what these suitcases are. And that's when the AI simply replies, they are suitcases which represent, well, which have several quirk injectors in them, and those letters, B, A, and S, are how stable they are. B is the most stable, S is the least stable of the quirks. And that's when the AI simply asks Deku, would you like to know the names of these quirks? With Deku replying, yes. And that's when the AI simply tells him, the first quirk, and the most stable one, being the Class B quirk, it is called, well, Phantom. It is essentially a quirk which allows you to become invisible. Although not completely, because you can still be seen by thermal detectors and also by radio waves. With Deku simply responds, okay, I don't need that quirk, so I already have camouflage, which works essentially in the same way. What about the medium one, or well, the second most stable one? The A-ranked quirk is called Juggernaut. It essentially hardens your body by several tons. The scientists still do not exactly know how this quirk works. Everything they know is that they got it from a shellfish, which had a quirk. With Deku then simply responds, is that it? That's everything it does? It gives you a couple of tons of weight, or how does that work? With the AI simply responding, the company wasn't sure themselves, we just know that it gives you weight, and that's it. And that's when Deku asks about the final most unstable quirk. And that's when the AI simply responds. Oh crap, sorry guys. Okay, again, sorry about that guys. There's currently some construction work being done outside my house. And well, let's see, I left off with the final suitcase. The suitcase, which was the most unstable, as the AI said, the quirk which is in it is simply called Behemoth. This quirk is the most unstable because of the sheer fact that it was originally supposed to be a mutation quirk, but the human which got it sadly died before it was ever born. And well, the facility simply took interest in the baby because, well, its parents had also a rather strong quirks. So they simply took a bit of the baby's, how do you say it, genetic material, and they also got the quirk inside of it. Now, the reason why this quirk is so unstable is because of, well, like I just said, it's a mutation quirk. So the risks of it are rather large. And also they don't exactly know what this mutation quirk will give you. They simply named it Behemoth because, well, they thought it was going to make you a lot larger and also give you essentially a lot more power, although there's also a chance of you turning into a monster. And that's when Deku simply replies, I'm already pretty tall and people already see me as a monster. That's when the AI asks him, very well, But do you want any of these quirks? With Deku simply replying, I don't believe that I will need any of these quirks to enter the arena, but still. That's when the AI simply asks him a bit, well, how do you say that? With a scared tone. You want to go to the arena? With Deku responding, yes, someone who I care for a lot is there. The arena is filled with the most unstable and dangerous subjects the company had ever made. Of course, the ones with intelligence were usually sent to the Eclipse prison, but because you broke out of that prison, the 6 other, well, how do you say it, subjects which were there were able to successfully escape. But still, that doesn't mean that they're the strongest. The strongest of the subjects are the one which went completely primal. They don't know who they are and they don't care. They only want to either eat, sleep and kill. That's everything which drives the subjects in the arena. In all honesty, I believe that your, well, friend or whoever it is you call, well, to be, I'm sorry, I'm not exactly completely sure that I understand. Why would you want to go to the arena to save someone that probably already did? That's when Deku simply responds, if they are dead, then I'm going to kill every single one of the bastards in the arena. And well, that's when Deku simply asks him again, fine, so what are my chances of exactly being able to go to the arena now and actually win against on their defenses? And that's when the AI simply responds, because of the sheer amount of primal, well, subjects which are there, along with everything else. And also keep in mind that the Eclipse prison facility was essentially being used to store people and humans who were given quirks, some of them which, and most of them didn't have any certain mutation quirks. So the quirks they did have were, well, suppressed by quirk suppressants. For the arena, that doesn't exactly work. Most of the subjects which were there are either, well, essentially wolves, beasts and all that, or they are humans which their minds have broke due to how much quirks they had. And well, because of that, the arena has a lot more security than the Eclipse facility. And on top of that, the arena also goes underground. And underground are the main holding cells for all of the subjects. And on top of that, it also has quite a few, well, mercenary forces, which essentially use their quirks to protect the interests of the company. So I would say that you don't have any sort of a chance in being able to get to the arena. That's when Deku simply, well, sighs. And that's when he tells the AI that he wants the S-ranked and the most unstable quirk, Behemoth. Now, the AI is rather opposed to this, saying that there's probably more quirks up in the second floor. And that's when Deku simply says, are any of them S-ranked? With the AI simply saying that there are 2 S-ranked quirks. And that's when Deku asks him to tell me what they exactly are. With the AI responding, the first, or well, the second S-ranked quirk, which is in this facility, would be, well, mind control. You are able to control any being which you want. Although the only problem with this quirk is that when you use it, your brain slowly starts to melt. It uses a rather great amount of, well, it puts a lot of strain on your brain. And because of your current status, I would not make this an option for a quirk which I can give you. You would die immediately. With Deku simply asking, what's the third quirk? And that's when the AI simply pauses for a moment. The third quirk is called Shadow. Now, the quirk in its own doesn't exactly sound a lot that much promising, right? Well, this quirk essentially gives you complete control over a person's shadow. So, simply putting it, if you make the shadow's neck make an 180, that is a 360 turn, that human's head is going to be broken. And as Deku hears that, he simply asks, wait, so this quirk allows anyone to control anyone's shadow? With the AI responding, well, not exactly. You can only control the shadows of living things. And it also mostly works on humans, or it works on humans the best. And well, after Deku heard all of that, he simply said again, where can I find the shadow quirk? That's when the AI simply tells him where it is. Deku goes to another secured safe, which even he isn't able to break in one hit. Although that's when he uses his energy manipulation, and yeah, after he used that, the entire safe was rather easy to break through. That's when he got the S-ranked quirk, but that's when he also saw something else. He saw two A-ranked quirks which were rather interesting. One of those quirks allowed, well, since all those quirks had documents right next to them, so that's how he was able to essentially read through them. The first one of the two A-class quirks was that it allowed that person to essentially summon, well, a horde of bots. And well, these bots, well, they weren't exactly made out of shadows. That's a bit cliche. They were made out of electricity. And the other A-class quirk was simply called acceleration. This quirk allowed the person who had it, or any living being, to essentially be able to accelerate anything they wanted. If they wanted to accelerate their speed, they can. If they want to accelerate their growth, they can. If they want to accelerate essentially anything they want, including their quirk. And well, after that, Deku simply goes back up, simply to the surface, and then he asks Eri to come with him. And now, Eri simply asks him, is it safe? With Deku replying, yes, it is. And well, after that, Eri asks Deku why exactly did he want her to come with him. That's when Deku explains that he has two different quirks which he would like to give her. With Eri simply, well, being a bit scared because... And at that point, Eri gets a bit scared because she thought Deku was nice. And well, after she gets scared, the Shadow Viper emerges from her shadow. It isn't at its full length, but it's currently 10 meters in length. And yeah, it can... And as Deku sees it, he simply kneels down and says to Eri that this is for her own good. I'm not like Overhaul, and I'm not doing this just for experimentation. This is more or less simply so that you can defend yourself. at that point, Eri essentially calls off her shadow wiper. And that's when they go back down to the 7th floor. And the AI was able to, well, essentially close off the other 3 floors. And as Deku and Eri went down there, Deku was the first one to get his quirks injected into him. That being Behemoth and Shadow. The first one was Shadow. It was successfully in him at a 67% stability, which was acceptable. Because essentially, if stability went under 40%, yeah, that person was gonna die. But everything upwards of 40%, even 41%, was considered to be stable enough to be used. And getting 67% on an S-ranked quirk was rather good. And that's when they went to Behemoth. As they gave Deku that quirk, yeah, something happened. The quirk stability was, well, at a level which the AI never even seen before. He never even imagined that an S-ranked quirk can have this much stability. Its stability level was 96%. And well, what that meant was this. Deku, as he was given that quirk, he could now be even taller, because he could essentially turn himself into a, well, a rather large, let me phrase it a bit better. The Behemoth quirk essentially made him into a behemoth. He was, at this point, as I said, he was, I think I said, 13.5 feet tall. When he used his Behemoth quirk, he would be, well, exactly 13 meters tall. Yeah, that's rather a lot. That's rather tall. And also the fact that the Behemoth also, well, allowed him to have even greater strength. So at this point, when he uses his Behemoth quirk on top of all the other ones, he can actually go toe-to-toe with All Might. And yeah, after he got those 2 quirks, he simply goes ahead and tells Eri to get hers. And well, the first quirk was just like I said, the swarm of bats. And the stability of that quirk was a perfect 100%, going with Eri's, well, vampirism quirk. Something a little bit strange happened, because the swarm of bats, which were essentially electrical to that point, merged with her vampirism quirk. And after that, every single time she got, well, a bit of her blood thrown out of her, and essentially if she gets hurt, she can summon bloodbaths. Yeah. An entire swarm of them as well. And yeah, now to the other quirk, which was, well, like I said. Wait, no, crap, not again. Okay, I'm again sorry for that. Someone entered my room. And well, the second quirk, which she went ahead and had, was acceleration. And well, luckily for both the AI and Deku, acceleration was at a rather good 76% stability. And yeah, after that, both Eri and Deku were, well, now a lot more powerful than before. Deku a bit more than Eri. And after that, they went to the other floors of the facility. And while Eri, as she was tortured, quite a few, she was, well, the only emotions she knew was sadness and anger. And yeah, whenever she saw anyone who was wearing the same lab coat as Genetic Arcs Company's scientists, she essentially entered a blood rage. Let's just say that the last 3 floors were were stained with a lot of blood. And yeah. And before you guys go into the comments saying that I made Eri into some sort of a monster, well, I did. Although she only she only enters in a blood rage if she's going up against people she hates. And now, they finally get, that is, Eri actually leaves one of them alive, and the one she left alive was essentially the head scientists of this facility. That's when Deku goes there and simply, before all of that. After the AI, that is like before Eri went ahead and destroyed everything, the AI which had helped both Deku and Eri then asked Deku to destroy him. And well, Deku obliged. He used his energy manipulation quirk and, yeah, simply put his Sane on the server and then completely fried it. The AI's last words were, well, thank you. And after that, he was completely destroyed. After that had been done, Deku nudged Eri forward, and well, that's when both of them went ahead and tested out the new quirks. Eri tested them out on the humans, which were in the last 3 levels, while Deku went to the 3rd floor. That is, yeah, the 3rd floor, which had all the escaped subjects. As Deku essentially broke the panels, which were the only things really keeping the subjects from escaping, he entered into his behemoth form. Now, this form was, well, it still looked like he was a human. That is, well, not at all. It essentially had the shape of a human, but everything else wasn't. Now he had 6 horns on his head, 4 eyes, and yeah, his mouth was essentially several rows of extremely sharp teeth, along with his claws on both his arms and legs. And his dragon scale quirk also, that is his dragon scale, quirk, also sort of mutated into behemoth. So yeah, now he was essentially a walking, I would say he was essentially, well actually no, okay, I'm gonna phrase it a bit better. He essentially had the same amount of destructive power as Gigantomachia from the anime. And yeah, all of the subjects there didn't exactly stand a chance, as Deku simply went ahead and killed all of them. And now, after that, he simply went back to Eri, and that's when both of them made their way to the arena. And, well, this is going to be it. I'm also sorry for not posting anything for a whole week. I had some family issues, which I needed to, well, take care of, I guess. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day.